Welcome to the topic on HCC TV and, of course, right now on Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome. We do the show every Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. It's on here where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, and our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. Thanks for being here with us live on Facebook and YouTube. And you can always catch the rebroadcast of our shows on HCC TV. Look for us across social media under Houston Community College District. And if you download podcasts, you can download the audio versions of our shows at hccs.edu/podcasts. Today, we are talking about a very interesting subject, a subject that's very important to our students and in many cases, their parents as well. The cost of college goes beyond just tuition. Textbooks are necessary, but in many cases, they're often very expensive. That's part of the picture. Today, we're going to learn about how HCC is working to keep textbooks affordable for our students. First, we're joined by Dr. Donald Parker to talk about he's the Inclusive Access Coordinator for HCC, and he's going to tell us more about this. Good afternoon, Dr. Parker. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me, Todd.
Well, thanks for being here. I can remember, and I've talked to one of your colleagues about this on Up to the Minute in the past, but I remember going to classes back in the 80s and 90s and taking classes at U of H. And, back then you'd get hit up for like maybe $80 or $100 per course. That was a lot of money back then. And I know textbook costs have continued rising over the years. Why are they so expensive?
Well, Todd, that's an excellent question. I also went to professional schools, so those books were in the $200 to $250 range. And so it gets kind of costly. And so some of the main reasons that the cost of textbooks are going up more so today is when we look at the fires that we're having out on the West Coast, taking away a lot of the forests. When we look at on TV and the news and we're seeing the supply chain back up with all of the cargo ships being backed up, we know that a lot of our printing presses have shut down here in the United States and moved over the seas to Asia and trying to get printing materials here. So with the competition, and then when we look at along the coast where we had a lot of hurricane and other natural disasters, along with the pandemic reducing the amount of labor force we have this perfect setup of where cost of textbooks are going to go up even more than what we knew in those days of being expensive. So we have this perfect storm of why these prices are going up, and we really are looking forward to doing something about that for our students.
Well, that's supply and demand, but I also know, in textbooks, there's a lot of research and a lot of vetting that goes into this, and that costs a lot of money. And a lot of people who write these textbooks may work, and maybe their life's work. They may have worked on it for years, if not longer.
Right, correct.
So tell us about the low-cost savings program that you're offering for our students. And we want to hear about inclusive access. What does that mean exactly?
Right. Well, I really like to start at the point of here at ACC, we're not just focused on quality education, but quality affordable education. And so Dr. Smith and I are both men in a program that is called the Textbook Savings Program, where we're trying to save our students money for their course materials. And so I'm over the Inclusive Access Program, and the Inclusive Access Program is a unique program where we're bringing together publishers, the bookstore, and ACC to reduce the cost of course material, publisher course materials.
And so this is it the same as the first day access? Is that how it works? Because I know I've talked to Nathan Smith about this as well.
Yes. And so we call it First Day Inclusive Access Program because what we want to make sure is that every student on the first day of the class have their course materials, regardless of whether they are self-pay or on financial aid. In the old days, we can kind of remember that when students were on financial aid, you had to wait 2 or 3 class periods for your financial aid to clear to be able to get your course materials, which would put them behind, kind of make them kind of unsatisfied or feel like they're falling behind. And then it could affect their success in the course. So with this first day model, what happens is we reduce the price by about 50 to 70% of the paper costs by delivering the digital course materials to them through the Canvas LMS. And it's there on day one, whether they are financial aid or self-pay students.
What's the reaction been from the students? I mean, this has got to be a game changer for them.
It has been. Initially, it's the first time that they take the class, initially they're kind of shocked, like, hey, how do I get my books? Where are they? Have I paid for this? But once they're in it, what we've noticed in our surveys every year, that we only have a 1 to 1.2% opt-out rate over the 35,000 enrollees that we have. And so 98% of the students have been satisfied and said that they're looking for more of our textbook savings in inclusive access classes.
And from what I understand, because before we logged into the show, before we went live this afternoon, our producer is an adjunct communications instructor here, and she was telling you she's faculty, she enjoys the inclusive access. Is that what you're hearing from the faculty as well? Are you getting good feedback?
Absolutely. You know, most of our faculty in their survey absolutely state that being able to start day one, knowing that all of their students have the course materials that they need to be successful in their classroom, has been a game changer. No longer do they have to wait a couple of class periods for everybody to get what they need. Our veterans don't have to wait on their VA checks. Our financial aid students don't have to wait 2 or 3 classes to get their materials. We can start on day one with assignments and move forward and stay on scope and sequence and be able to potentially finish the course year with our students having what they need. So it's been a game changer.
So current students will probably know how this process works, but how do new students get on board? Are they told about this during the orientation? Are they sent emails about it? And then how do they access this on their website? I know you want to show us that as well.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. You hit the $1 million question that Dr. Smith and I are working on. We're really getting this marketing information out. How, when you are enrolling and going into the course search, that when you search for Biology 1306, happens to be that when you pull up that particular class, it will show an S for Savings First Day if it is an inclusive access class. It'll show an L if it is a low cost books class, meaning a course that costs less than $40 for all of its course materials. And then it will show a Z for an OER or zero cost book class. And if it's a blank, that just means it's the old traditional. You go to the bookstore and buy the books.
Can you show us quickly where you can get to it on the website if you're looking?
Absolutely. So what Dr. Smith and I have done over the summer is we knew people had questions and we want to have all their frequent asked questions. So I'm going to pull up that slide now if I can share, and it looks like I cannot share.
Let's see if make sure.
Oh, it's coming. I got it.
Okay.
So when the students go to the My Eagle page, and when they look, they're going to look for the dollar sign. My screen is a little, so what they will see is this dollar sign, and it says Textbook Savings Program. When they click on this link from the My Eagle page, it will bring up the Textbook Savings Program, tell them what the Textbook Savings Program is all about, and they can just easily go to any of these highlights to find out about the zero cost books, the low cost books, or the First Day Inclusive Access Program, and it will answer a large number of questions for them.
So a lot of things to keep in mind. I mean, really, this is a big deal for our students. You can stop sharing your screen now, Dr. Parker.
Absolutely.
But this is saving them hundreds of dollars a semester. Do you know what the average was? Off the top of my head, I'm wondering what was the average students were paying in the past?
What we say on our website is that if Nathan can help me stop sharing. But what our students were spending was about $125 per credit hour.
Right. So 125 per credit hour?
That's what our website currently says. Dr. Smith may have some updated new numbers now that we've been looking at classes now, but I do know from the Inclusive Access program that started in the spring of 2019, we've saved now up to this point about $8.5 million with the Inclusive Access program to our students in that short time period. And I know in the Textbook Savings Program total, I know Dr. Smith just gave a presentation that we've saved about $15.5 to $15.6 million in the whole program altogether, which I think he started probably in 2017 with his program.
Incredible. You're doing some great work, Dr. Parker. We appreciate you being here and letting our students and most importantly, their parents know about this, because a lot of them may be seeing this and going, wow, I didn't know we could do that. Certainly a game changer. All right, when we come back on the topic, we'll be talking with Dr. Nathan Smith, who will be joining us. He's a philosophy instructor and he's also the OEC coordinator. What's all that about? That's coming up when the topic returns.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
Welcome back to the topic. I'm Todd Duplantis. I know some of you may be watching us on HCC TV. Some of you are watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. You can catch us across social media. Look for the show under Houston Community College District. Most importantly, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's totally free, and you'll get notifications when our shows are newly posted. We're talking about textbook savings for our students. We're talking millions of dollars that are saved by offering students textbooks at a low cost or free in many cases. Right now, we've got Dr. Nathan Smith. He's a philosophy instructor here and the Open Education Resources Coordinator at HCC. Dr. Smith, welcome back to the show. You and I have talked before, and I know you were on the original incarnation of the show years ago. And was that in 2017 when you were just starting this?
That sounds right. I think it was, late 2017. That was when we launched the Z degree program. So I think so.
Yeah. So you've been working on this for the past few years. Did you anticipate it would take off this much? I mean, right now, it seems like you guys are offering far more than you did with the Z degree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think I anticipated exactly the growth that we've seen. But yeah, we had seen this occur at other institutions around the country. And I think once you get faculty engaged on the idea that they can save their students money and they can still provide high quality instructional materials for students, that they get on board. We know that HCC faculty are concerned about the rising cost of textbooks. They're concerned about their students being able to meet their financial needs. So, they're very receptive to the idea.
What you're representing right now are open educational resources. Explain to our audience what those are.
Yeah, so it's really kind of a cool idea. And this open education and open licensing pertains to basically any field that you might be in. So essentially, folks are familiar with copyright. Copyright says all rights reserved, meaning when I produce a product, whether it's a music or a television show or a movie or a textbook, I retain all of the rights to reproduction, distribution, modification, and sale of that resource. But around sort of in the late 80s and 90s, and particularly in software, software developers realized that putting copyright licenses on things like software development actually impeded innovation and collaboration. So they created open software. So that actually became the foundation of a lot of things we use today on the internet. Most of our servers are Unix-based, which is an openly licensed software. In around 2000, late 90s, 2000, others started to say, well, why don't we apply that model to other forms of media that are produced? And so the big thing to emerge from that was a platform called Creative Commons. What it does is it basically says content creators can choose which rights they want to retain. So instead of saying all rights reserved, you can say some rights reserved. So most commonly, like a content creator will say something like, I want to be attributed. You can use my resources that I put out there, right, but you have to let people know that it came from me. And that's really important in education, for instance, because our cachet comes from our name, the things that we produced. You can do other things. There's lots of modifications, but basically it gives the content creator the ability to say which rights are reserved. And then it gets the user the ability to modify, reuse, freely access those materials. So this is a big benefit for students, is that the materials are free once they are openly licensed and shared online.
So are the faculty and their team looking for these open educational resources to fit into their course curriculum? Is that how it's working, so they can offer this? Or are there advisors that provide certain OEC resources for the faculty? How does that work in getting it from the into the curriculum and into the students?
Right. Well, so I help facilitate that with some training that we provide. We have our librarians are outstanding resources for this, because they understand how to find materials and they understand this open licensing. So we have a library page, a landing page for faculty called Open Access. It has tons of resources where faculty can discover these sorts of things. There's lots of search tools that have been developed, meta searches that look through tons of databases. At HCC, we participate in Texas has just created a hub, a portal called OER Texas, where faculty can upload materials. We can link to materials that we find around the web. And HCC faculty right now are building like discipline hubs. So we have an English hub, a humanities hub, we have a sciences hub. We can create sharing platforms. So when I find a good resource, I put it in here. Other people can find it. And then they know, they know that, hey, Professor Smith, Professor Amaku, Professor Parker, we're using these resources. I trust those resources because I trust that person. Right. So it's a nice way. It's sort of trades on the power of the internet, which is sharing and collaboration and creating social networks of trust.
When you first came up with this concept and were introducing it to faculty, did you have any pushback with faculty saying, well, I don't know if I want to use free resources because I'm not going to be able to deliver the quality of instruction because of the resources? Did you ever face that till you were able to say, look at everything that's available before you make that judgment call?
For sure. I mean, that was a major concern. I think the biggest hurdle is just, you're asking faculty to change the instructional materials they use. And the reality is, faculty develop courses with lectures, assessments, quizzes, all of these things built around a particular textbook. You ask them to switch out that textbook, that's a lot of work. So we understand that. That's why we offer stipends for faculty who are redesigning a course and going through that. And initially, there were concerns about quality. We're used to having a gatekeeper, like a publisher, that vets the quality, does peer review of these things, and puts their stamp of approval on it and sends it out. With open educational resources, these are often, crowdsourced. People put them up. Maybe somebody just creates their own textbook. So it may feel like you don't have that oversight or review. But over time, what we found with a lot of things on the internet, this is true, say Wikipedia, for instance, we find that actually the quality improves over time. When more people get involved, further iterations of this we're now to the stage where we have extremely high quality textbooks that are out there that are openly licensed. So I think that concern has diminished over time.
And HCC faculty now are developing open textbooks projects with grant funds. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, we've had all kinds of different grant funds that, whether they're internal grants, we have some internal grants folks have used to develop funds. And lately, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board has put money, Texas legislature has put money into a statewide grant. And we've had great success at HCC. We have had we're looking at 9 different grants so far since the beginning of that process, that where faculty are either adapting, using an existing material that's out there and then adapting and building a course around it, or they're actually creating brand new materials. And that's what we're doing this year. It's really wonderful. And this means that our faculty are building the resources, they're building them for our students. And that means they're aligned for what the students need, what we need what the program needs. And I think it's just a great opportunity to highlight the excellent faculty we have and the kinds of things that we can produce.
And once again, we talked with Dr. Parker about this a few moments ago, but the savings to the students that they've been able to save over the past few years, what have you been able to determine from that?
Yeah, so we figure with just the zero cost books program, it's about $7 million since the fall of 2017. But when you add the inclusive access program and the low cost, we are up over $15.5 million since 2017. What we're doing there is we just take the average price of the textbook, like Dr. Parker was saying, it's about $125 per course. And then we just subtract that, what we're actually charging students. So we're saving them a bunch of money with the inclusive access, and we can get down to zero when you use open educational resources. And so that's just a huge savings. So for every enrollment, that adds up. We're enrolling 8,000 students in zero cost books classes each semester, 3,000 students in low cost books, and like 35,000 students or more in the inclusive access. So it's a lot of students we're impacting.
If you think about that, $125 per course or per credit hour, either way, right now is the best time to go to community college because there's so many financial resources that are available for our students with the emergency funding. And now this savings, that really puts extra money in the students' pockets. They can pay for gas, transportation, food, whatever they need instead of worrying about paying for those books.
Absolutely. And we know those out-of-pocket expenses are what kill students.
Yeah.
That's the toughest thing. I mean, when you're living paycheck to paycheck, $125 is a huge difference.
Absolutely. We appreciate talking with you, Dr. Nathan Smith. Thanks for being on the show again. We look forward to seeing you in the future. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll get the faculty perspective on the low-cost textbook savings. Stay tuned to the topic. We'll be back after this.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals.
A 4-year degree.
Workforce training. A better life.
HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
For more than a year, we have kept you informed with more than 500 remote episodes. But now we're back, bigger and better with more news and more guests. Join us live every weekday at 10 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and on HCC TV at noon and 5 p.m. You can watch from anywhere. We go where you go.
That one day at PE when they were yelling at me, and then you just linked arms with me. I don't think you know how much that helped me. I finally knew that I had somebody.
Welcome back to the topic. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we're talking about open educational resources, low textbook savings, all that and more for our students here at HCC. And right now we're joined by Dr. Veronica Amaku. She is a biology professor who uses OER. Dr. Amaku, thanks for being here on the show this afternoon.
Thanks for inviting me.
So I want to ask you, when you first heard about open educational resources that are available for everybody, what were your first thoughts? Did you think, I don't know if I really want to use that, I've got to check this out first? What was your first thought when you heard about it?
I was excited, really. From personal experience, I went through my first degree. I could only purchase 2 textbooks. And so that affected my grade. So when I learned about this, I was like, wow, this is going to help a whole lot of students who were like me, who couldn't afford the textbook, but they need quality materials for their classes.
And tell me the process. How do you find the resources when you're putting together your courses for the semester and structuring that? How does that process work? OpenStax Publishing by Rice University, they've done a great job of providing or producing a lot of textbooks that are quality, and they have very comparable to publisher-based textbooks. So
that is the founding material that I use. I use textbooks from OpenStax. And then we have the OER Commons and Texas repositories, and a lot of resources are available online that we can use to develop courses.
What's been the reaction from your students in getting their textbooks as open educational resources or low cost? What's been their reaction? What have they told you about it?
They're excited about it. In fact, they're very excited because it saved them the cost, and the material is ready from day one. They don't have to wait on financial aid and all of that. So yes, they love it and they're very appreciative.
For all the courses you teach now are at HCC, are they all OER? Do you involve these textbook savings in all the courses? Is that the case right now?
Not yet. I have some upper level courses like anatomy and the microbiology that I still use the regular textbook for, the publisher textbook, but my intro to biology, gem biology for majors, I use OER.
From your perspective, do you see a point in the next few years where all of our courses will go in through OER or low textbook savings if this continues on the path it is right now?
If it continues, I know more people will use OER, but I think that there will still be those who want to stick with publisher textbooks.
Are those usually the higher level courses like the ones you're teaching right now?
Probably, yes.
What from your perspective, you told us a little bit about your personal story, but what do you think are the biggest benefits that both the faculty and the students will get out of this? Let's start with the faculty first.
Okay, for faculty, I look at it as, it's the ultimate academic freedom for the professor. You get to design the course the way you want it. And also the fact that with OER, we make changes. It's ongoing. Right. And you don't have to wait for the next publication from the textbook comes in before you adapt your course material. So every semester, I'm getting more new information and I'm changing my course as I go.
Is it exciting to be able to design the course the way you wish because of OER?
Oh, yes, it is. It's very exciting because, it's what I'm passionate about. This is the way I want to get this message across to my students. And so I'm able to make that connection based on, the material that I have provided and, of course, my teaching in the classroom.
Once again, we've been talking about open educational resources, textbook savings programs for our students. It's, since they started this in 2017 here at HCC, saved our students around $15 million. And the cost keeps going up because we're finding new ways of providing this for our students. Dr. Amaku, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And tell us your perspective on this. If you're interested in these programs, we'll have a link in the social media post for the show. Once again, we're live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube. Catch the rebroadcast on HCC TV. I'm Todd Duplantis. I'll see you next week on the topic.
Thank you.
I love teaching at HCC. I love helping students.
With college credits.
With scholarships and financial aid.
Training them for life-changing careers.
Come learn with us. HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.
(150/90).
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering them could save you from having a stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
The faculty at HCC represents the best of the city. They're committed to getting our students to their goals. HCC, for everyone, anytime, anyway.